Welcome back with another reaction. Today I'm going to do the animated history of Australia. I know nothing really about anything. I'm not even into history at all. Um, I had to study it back when I was in school. I've had to study it when I was pursuing a bachelor's degree in computer science. Um, and it's not my topic. I don't like history. I'm not a history person. I Back in school, gym was my thing and math. So um, history is just not on the level with me. But I know history is important. So so I know literally nothing about Australian history because I barely know anything about American history. So let's go ahead and take a look.
This episode is brought to This episode is brought to you by Skillshare. The first 500 viewers who sign up using the link below get 2 months of Skillshare absolutely free. Aristotle, Ptolemy, and Macrobius believed that there was far too much land in the northern hemisphere, and that there must be some undiscovered continent balancing the globe somewhere in the south. Okay, so the logic was a little flawed, but during the Age of Discovery, the search was on for Terra Australis Incognito. Fast forward a few centuries to the East Indies. 3 Dutch sailors landed in Australia accidentally in the 1600s. The mythical southern continent had just been found.
First off, let me say I love the art. Okay, it's great cartoon art. This channel, you should definitely check them out and subscribe because I'm going to. I don't even know because I didn't look at the rest of their content. Um, but it looks like something cool to check out. So.
Australia was the last of the New World to be discovered, because let's be honest, nobody cares about Antarctica. Australia was of course already inhabited. Indigenous Australians, also known as Aborigines, had a population of between 300 and 700,000 by modern estimates. Early contacts with these tribes were as often peaceful as they were violent. It is thought that these groups arrived in 2 stages. The first was from the Indian subcontinent via a land bridge that connected Australia to the island of New Guinea, bringing with them the Pama-Nyungan language family. The second wave was much later and may have been groups related to the Austronesians of Indonesia. Their culture and history.
I was recently hearing about the Aboriginal people that still live there. I don't know where they live. I don't know how many of them are there still. And I don't know if they live together, in cooperation with everyone or what. Um, I did hear some things about people being displaced in 2020, 2021, or whatever. They were a lot of Aboriginal people. So I don't know what that was about or if it was just incorrect information. So if that's something you guys can let me know about, that'd be cool.
Was preserved through the oral tradition. The Dutch named the island New Holland after the county of Holland in the Netherlands, but it wasn't until the British landed on the east coast and named it New South Wales that Europeans began to settle. Landing in Port Jackson on the 26th of January 1788, hey, that's today, the so-called First Fleet arrived to found the colony of Sydney, with the intention of using the labour of prisoners to achieve wealth for Britain. However, contrary to Australia's convict founding myth, less than half of this first fleet were actually convicts. In the 1800s, Australia was circumnavigated, mapped, and new colonies started springing up all over. Hobart, Newcastle, Launceston, Port Macquarie, Brisbane, and Melbourne, with dozens of penal centres. Adelaide and Perth were founded as free settlement cities, but the latter was made into a penal colony after it failed to grow naturally. As the Europeans expanded, the frontier wars began with the Aboriginals.
So is that like, you guys got like a lot of prisons? America has a lot of prisons, all right? And a lot of people get put there, for literally no reason. I've seen it happen personally because I grew up in the hood. I grew up in Chicago Heights. in the Midwest here, and I've had friends that have just been taken um, for just a miscarriage of justice. I've ended up in a slammer a couple times due to police corruption, literally. And I know a lot of people probably say that, and you're like, "Oh, you're just a criminal." No, no. My family's been harassed by a certain town's police back in the south side of Chicago because my dad sued the city and won when he was younger because he blew off fingers picking up an unexploded firecracker. And he sued the town and he won. And they've been targeting our entire family ever since. So, I have a little history with the police. But it looks like you guys got a lot of penal colonies popping up. And unless penal colony means something different in Australia, I'm assuming it's like prison colonies. So I don't know how that works. I'd like to hear something about it. Leave a comment. Let me know what's going on with that.
Many of whom were hostile to the foreign invaders. Most famously, the Black War of Tasmania, which nearly wiped out the indigenous Tasmanians. But far more destructive to the Aboriginals was smallpox, which killed tens of thousands. Australia's growth would stagnate until the 1850s gold rush, which drew hundreds and thousands of settlers from all around the world in search for wealth, particularly in New South Wales and what would become Victoria. This would forever change Australia's character, with new free settlers overshadowing its convict past, bringing with them their ideas of European Enlightenment, the American self-determinism, and the Chinese hatred for the British. These gold diggers became discontent with the corrupt and badly run colonial elites and rose up in rebellion in the infamous Eureka Stockade. These settlers were beginning to feel a sense of nationalism, that perhaps Australia could be something different. The winds of change were on Terra Australis, and soon, large-scale trade unions developed in Australia's largely working-class population from the ideas of orthodox Marxists. Trade unions still hold a significant influence over Australian politics today.
But let's not forget the rift that had been forming between Australia and Australians, the government and its people. Thousands of ex-convicts were being released each year, most of them turning to civil jobs, but a sizable minority turned to Australia's bushy frontier for freedom and profits. Policing was harsh, but order couldn't reach far enough. Outside of the cities, only personal gain and wealth could drive law enforcement. Money would change hands and lips were sealed. In this climate...
So that's basically corruption? I mean, it's rampant in the United States. I'm surprised people want to come here because, there's a lot of good cops out there, right? So, but you never know which one you're going to get. That's the problem. And there's cops that just show up and demand your ID. They don't have a right to see. They want to know who you are. It's none of your business. Our Constitution protects us from you invading my personal business. But I don't know how it works out there, but it looks like with money exchanging hands, it's very similar. We have corrupt judges, politicians, police, lawyers, DAs, district attorneys, everything. So it looks like that's a universal problem in the world.
An Australian icon was born, Ned Kelly. Famous for his tin hat Robin Hood thievery, infamous for his cop killing and town raids, and recognisable everywhere for that nifty bulletproof suit. For more on one of the most well-known cornerstones of Australian folklore, come to my channel, Feature History, and check out my video on Old Ned.
Okay, so besides bulletproof suits or whatever, most Aussie colonies were granted self-governing status and united to form the Commonwealth of Australia in 1901, a dominion of the British Crown. The new Australian government was very quick to open up a new dark chapter in Aboriginal history, the infamous Stolen Generation. Beginning in 1905, the government began rounding up half-castes, a term which is now highly offensive, and settled them into white families with the intention of breeding out their Aboriginal blood, in a form of cultural genocide. Abuses of these children were also rampant, which is a rather depressing segue into the White Australia policy, a set of strict settlement acts which restricted immigration from anyone who wasn't British or Northern European up until about the Second World War. As a British...
I'm always hearing about how, America's racist. We have slavery and all that stuff. it's really every country that has stuff like that. And it is it's like I feel like Americans are targeted a lot for stupid people in the society. The stupid people are louder, so they get the bigger uh, media attention, right? But the majority of people are not a certain way. Um, we just want to be left alone in peace, and to just uh, you know, raise our kids, just grow a family, uh, and not struggle day to day. Just be left alone, like not dealing with corrupt people, um, criminals, and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's a little tangent.
Colony, Australia would unilaterally declare war on Germany during the First World War, forming the Australia and New Zealand Army Corps, or ANZACs. The young nation was sent headfirst into war. Around 500,000 soldiers volunteered, or nearly 1/10 of the total population. The baptism of fire came during the Gallipoli campaign, when more than 8,000 men lost their lives in the failed invasion of Turkey, an event etched into the memory of the Australian zeitgeist. Although crippled from the Great Depression, Australia again took up arms in 1939 to support her mother nation in the Second World War, this time fighting in Europe, North Africa, the Pacific and South Asia. Prisoners of war in Malaya, Burma and Thailand were treated inhumanely by the Japanese, who also bombed Australia's northern coast about 100 times. Australia is still a very young nation, but it has emerged a very powerful force in the region, now a beacon of democracy, social progressivism and commerce, with its phenomenal urbanization consistently ranked among the world's most livable cities. Walking the line between left and right with generous social programs, universal suffrage, a welcoming immigration policy, and attractive business prospects. This is John. John wants to learn how to play the didgeridoo he bought from a garage sale.
Tell me what you think about what he just said. Welcoming immigration policy. As you know, America's basically open for business. And there's a lot of us just don't agree that it should be. Because like our taxes are already ridiculous. We get taxed out of the ass. You get taxed when you're born, you get taxed throughout your life, and you get taxed when you die. It's ridiculous. And then all the crap in between that you have to, deal with. So basically adding to the population is adding to the burden, because things have to be paid for. You got all these social things. You got free food programs, free like Americans don't get free healthcare, hospital stuff like that. But if you're illegal, you do. You'll get completely paid for. Um, and as you know, probably the American healthcare is expensive. Like for something that should be $200, it's going to be $20,000 because they can get away with it because they'll charge it to somebody's insurance if they have it. And if they don't have it, it'll go on your credit report and they'll try to collect it for the next 7 years. And they could sue you and garnish your wages. So, yeah. I'm just curious about what you think about that, because I've heard some Australians say we don't like it either. And then, of course, the people that move in don't want to follow the laws. They want to bring their own laws with them. And that's not every one of them, of course. There's some really, I've met some really hardworking illegals. But the problem is it's not all of them. And so it does cause problems. So I'm just curious about what you think about that.
Support the show on Patreon to vote for the next episode or download some of the artwork used in the videos. Thank you for watching. Until.
All right. So, yeah, that was it. Obviously that's not your whole history. But it is a good little summary. And it looks like we have, from what I know about American history, we have some, pretty much some of the same things, including some unfortunate things. Um, and they're just very similar. Um, so, is there anything that they didn't cover in your history that you'd like me to know about? Leave me a comment below, and make sure you follow this guy, this channel. They do great artwork. It looks like I don't know if they did that themselves or what, but it's just amazing. It's pretty good. I like that cartoon style. So I'm definitely gonna go ahead and subscribe to them real quick. So I'll see you in the next one. Peace.